What I mean by that is that I decided to do something new that I haven't seen anybody doing and take two artists that I know personally
Uh-huh.
or that I already have a relationship with and I love their art, and I'm almost like forcing them to work together and collaborate and like basically paint on the same canvas.
Interesting. Okay.
And yeah, so I mean, imagine it as because I'm a musician, I'm thinking of it in terms of, oh, well, you have a really good guitarist and you have a really good drummer, put them together, um, and you have music, right? So I'm trying to,
Yeah.
facilitating a collaboration between two different artists that, but I had to go and check in with them and see if this is something that they would be stoked about, or would this be pushing their limits or their boundaries, or is this something they're not really interested in doing? Because some artists for sure aren't into collaboration. I think collaboration is the future. I've been seeing that all over, like how collaboration can help, share audiences, you know?
Oh
So
yeah.
this is going to be a risky thing. Like it could be like, oh, like this just isn't working. Um,
Or it could be the thing that makes everything happen.
or
You
it could be
know?
something that's mind blowing and that I could have never expected, and neither of the artists could have ever expected.
Yeah. Well, cool. So you're crossing some boundaries with this new release you got going on. Okay. Do you have any so you're talking about your because you start with the album artwork first, right? But even before that, you have like a theme or a big idea
Mm-hmm.
that you use to um, line up all of the ideas, right? Or line them all up under so that it's all in theme and cohesive. So um, do you have any, you said you had a swipe file. Could,
Yeah.
could we look at the swipe file?
Yeah. So what I actually did was I got the okay that I told the artist, hey, Silvio is one of them. He did this artwork, the supernal flame that I showed you last time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
I
love
really
that
like
picture.
his style, and I want to keep his style in the brand. I want to keep his style of branding, but I also really like the style of a friend of mine who does a lot of the um, album artwork for our label. So he's like a go-to guy for our label and for artwork. And I was like, man, I want to hire him, but I also want to hire him. What if I hire both of them and I get them to collaborate? But I've seen this work. I didn't just come up with this on my own. I've seen different artists out there that I follow on Instagram, um, that they've worked with other artists on the same, it's a collab. They've done collabs, and it's like always way better than the artist could have done themselves. Like you see this,
Interesting.
I'll see this artist like in his work, and then I saw like this collaboration he did with this other really great artist, and I'm like, whoa, that's like 10 times,
Yeah.
crazy.
So it depends, right? It could either be way better or it could be, it could be worse,
Yeah.
right? Hold on 1 second. So I don't know if you can hear in the background, but my wife and I had a baby 3 months ago.
Oh,
So
congrats, dude.
she's crying. I didn't know if you could hear it. So I apologize for that, but babies cry, right? Um, so, so how are you approaching, by the way, did you have any reference art?
Yeah, so I'll show you what I did and how I went about it. I got a hold of both of them. I got to gauge whether this is something they'd want to do or not. I got the okay. They were both excited about it. Great. That's all I needed. And then I was like, okay, now how do I get this idea that's so big across? Because
What's
this
the big
idea,
idea? What's the idea you're trying to get across? Can you
so
summarize it in like a sentence or two?
yeah, it's basically creating one piece of artwork that serves as three interlocking pieces of artwork.
Interesting. Okay.
So imagine one album, imagine an album like a vinyl, and imagine that one vinyl is but one piece of an
So it comes
entire,
together like a puzzle.
yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. That's pretty cool. So you have, so I'm guessing you, so two artists, one's new, and the other you've used on your previous two albums or artwork, right?
We've used him on a previous artwork. So one is one we've used before, and one is new, but is also a friend of ours. Like he's come through
Okay.
shows and stuff.
Okay,
So
cool. Do you want to share your screen? I'd love to
yeah,
see
yeah.
kind of some of the stuff you're working with.
So I was like, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a Loom video, which is just a desktop recording video. Um, Michael Walker used to. He
Mhm.
showed me how to use it, and I was like, this is cool. I'm definitely gonna use this. And I created a video for the two artists once I got them to be like, yeah, I'm down for the project.
Mhm.
Um, I hit record on my screen, and then I just talk to them like this, and I'm just like, my face is in the corner, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, hey guys, here's the idea, here's the big project. It's a really big project, so the idea of having both of you to work together is that it's almost like not one person has to do this huge amount of detail, because there's a lot of detail that we're going to be putting into this, where you have to like, you can really look at this for a long time. Like that's the idea, and you can discover little jewels inside of
Yeah.
it.
And things unfold. The more you look at it, the more you catch.
Yeah. So I was like, this is kind of dividing the work. So you're both working on this big project, but the step I was like, let's go over like some initial steps. So let's figure out what platform to create on. Are we going to create on Photoshop, Illustrator? Is there some other Procreate or any other, like, what do you create on, and how can you guys paint on the same canvas? That way they could share files easily, and they can kind of, just have fun, like, creating something. um, and then like figure out what their strengths are. So I know each artist has strengths. So I was just like reminding them, think about like your top 3 strengths and how you can incorporate those to bring together in this piece of art. And then create a framework for it. So create like a basic sketch idea, something really basic, um, that we can use as a template or a framework to work off of when we go to add detail and color.
Okay.
Figure out the layout ratio and the size that we need to be working with. So if this is going to be 3 album covers, what is 1 album cover? And then how do we make 3 of those? How do we like make it one piece? And then figure out a color scheme,
Okay.
and then just have fun. Like I want them to know, like, this isn't like a high pressure project. This is something that you should just be fun, just have fun with, and something new that you've never done before.
Yeah.
And I think if you're having fun, naturally, like good things happen.
Yeah. They
Um,
do. Unless you're having too much fun and you never get anything done because you're.
yeah, well, I guess that's where I come in, because I'm just like the accountability guy. So I'll just hold them accountable. Um, but these guys are professionals. So,
Yeah. No, that's definitely helpful. You want to give direction to you want to give creative license, but you want to direct it and hold them accountable. So here's my question. How are you approaching the two artists working together? Like, um, are you saying, okay, the artist who you worked with before previously is going to like work on things that tell the previous story, and then this new direction that you're going, the new artist is going to add to that so that it complements each other but pays tribute to the different artists based on their role coming into the project? Is that kind of how did that make sense?
well, they both know that we've done, or we're doing concept albums. One of the artists has been a fan of us for a long time, since our first album. So he's very aware of our aesthetic, our concept albums, the background story behind it. The other guy is, I think he's from Portugal. So he's, he hasn't been a fan this whole time, but he's a fan now. And he's the guy who did the newest artwork.
Okay. Yeah.
So I explained to him the concept and stuff. So he's very well aware of, there's something here behind all this that
Okay.
that he's already aware of. So I think they both have a general understanding of the aesthetic and the concept. And then my job with this video that I made for them was explaining what the vision is, what I'm kind of visualizing, and giving them references.
Okay. So I'm assuming like as you scroll down, you'll see those are some reference designs. But so when you were doing your screen share um, um, it, to talk about the vision, to convey the vision, um, how did you approach that? Did you reference these example images and explain what you were trying to extract through their example so that they could kind of adapt it to their own to fit your vision, looking at what you have? Or how did you kind of approach that?
That's exactly what I did. I went over those 5 steps, the key, like just how do we get started with this? Um, and some big ideas like duality and some of the characters that are involved in the story.
Based on your previous releases,
Yeah.
if you're just, so this, if somebody hasn't seen the previous video, we're talking about you have ongoing themes and stories in your branding, in your music.
Yeah, it's
So
like
that's what we're talking
like a
about.
book series.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Just wanted to interject in there to make sure anybody who wasn't familiar knew. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you shared the vision, you're doing the video,
Mm-hmm.
and you're using these images as a reference point to convey your vision with a visual example.
Yeah. So the idea is really big. It's almost this, it's sort of like totem, like the idea of a totem where there's like these stacked images that all make up one thing. It's like a shamanic style of artwork. And our band's name is Archaic, which means ancient, and we're all into the ancient mythology, ancient cosmology, ancient philosophy, stuff like that. That's where we like draw a lot of inspiration from.
Yeah. So
And
as an archetype, trying to give context to existing information. So they're branding archetypes. One of them is a theme, right? So thematic, personal, genre specific, and persona. So you guys are following a theme, right?
totally, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, the band is more of a theme kind of um, approach than more like a personal, like it's all about me or it's all about like how we look or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. It's not a persona. It's a theme. This is a pure theme-based brand. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I found this image, and this was the main image that struck this idea about breaking the album cover up into 3 pieces, and either releasing them as like our next album would come with 3 variants of the album cover. So you could,
That's so cool, dude.
our label already does variants when they release a new record. They'll release 3 of the same record, but each vinyl variant has a different wax pattern. So, and they do these amazing like wax, like I'd have, maybe I can show you. Let's see, just so you can get as an example, and anybody else watching, so they can know what's possible when it comes to vinyl. Actually, I should probably go to the store. So this is our label, and so if you see, like, there's the same album right here,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the Firestorm variant,
Yeah.
and so it has a different wax look.
Yeah.
But if you go to
That's badass.
this one, same album, but this is the Euphoria variant.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that's been really successful that our label's been doing with each release, is releasing 3 different variants, and people will buy the full bundle of all 3 vinyls.
I love that. So creating variants, just subtle variations in design of the album.
Yeah. So like you've got this one. This is one of their newest releases, and you can see there's 3 different styles of variants. I like right now it's still in the, I just want to get this idea done, and then I'll figure out how to execute it. As far as, do we take one of the covers? We're basically getting 3 covers with one piece of artwork, and I'll show you how that breaks up. But do we put out 3 do we do something like this where there's 3 variants and then there's 3 different covers for the same
Mhm.
album? And then maybe next album we can do that and do it again and start creating like these elaborate artworks for each of our releases, and
Mhm.
that be part of our own signature style of branding and releasing? Or do we put one out and then our next album we put the next one out, and then on the third album the next one, and then it all links up to one thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you could, in theory, you could do both, because I mean, the way that you're releasing these, it's linear, right? So it's timeline based. So if you started with the first release, you could just do the variants in the color, and then maybe in the next release, you could combine the variants in the color with some of the different artwork that's themed specifically to that release, and then in the third, you can combine them all together or something like that. I mean, say you could. There's so many things you could do. You could build on top of it, or you could do independent things for each one. Yeah.
Yeah, or it could just be a big poster that rolls out when you get the album, and part of the cover is part of the artwork is the cover, and then when you open it up, it's just like this big poster, and then we can make like wall flags. A lot of people in our genre like these artwork where it's like a flag that they hang on their wall. But I'll show you. So I had this design, and then I was like, whoa, that's cool. Look at all the stuff that's going on in it. There's like these, birds, and there's faces right here that you can't really see from a distance. And then there's like Egyptian gods and like this beginning of life and death.
So there's individual stories in every element of this image.
Yeah, there's like a shamu. There's like uh,
Yeah.
wildlife. There's man and woman. There's like the rainbow. Uh, there's like light and dark.
So here's my question. When you bring this, so this is basically a collage. So it's individual stories that come together to form one big picture, right? And you can either choose to look at it, stand back and look at it, or get granular and close up and look at it, right? And that's awesome. So my question is, when this comes together, are you going to use because I know you're a big storyteller in your songs and as a lyricist. Are you going to represent some of the stories and some of the songs and some of the albums through visual imagery
Exactly what
that
it
comes
is.
together?
Yeah. So this album is going to have, or this piece of artwork is going to have basically the songs baked into it. So you can sort of see, and it's going to start right here and go up. So like you can basically, it'll start like in this story.
That's so cool, dude.
In this story, our hero, our main character, Syrinx, goes to the underworld. Like every eon, there's this like gateway that opens up that only a certain chosen person can go through, which is him. He's been training for this. Like gets way deep into the backstory about how he like gets there. But we left off on our last album with him entering this portal. This album, he's coming. This is all proprietary information because we haven't even told this to our fans yet.
Well, you probably don't. I don't want to reveal too much here.
I
Right?
don't. It's not even that. It's not like I've
All right.
I've kind of talked about it, but like it's not a huge deal. They're gonna find out anyways. But for the sake of just explaining it, yeah, like so this whole album's like he really starts at the lowest. In Tibetan cosmology, they've talked about these different realms that you incarnate into, and there's like lower and higher realms. There's 6 of them, and the lowest realm is called the realm of hungry ghosts, and it's all about like that insatiable appetite where you're just eating, you can't stop eating, and like you're always hungry, and
Ah,
that's like the lowest form of incarnation that you can have, and it's like a ghost that just can
right.
never be fulfilled.
Never satisfied.
Yeah, and so we kind of put our own twist on that. And instead of ghosts, they're like ghostly cannibals that are like illusionary and made out of fear, and like this whole realm deals with fear and overcoming fear and like conquering fear.
That's badass, dude. So each section from top to bottom in this image is going to be represented in the story arc and also in the progression or series of releases of the album, and I'm guessing the songs as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's
It's
awesome.
it's essentially a map. It's just supposed to act as like a map through these worlds that our hero goes through.
Yeah.
And then the way that I was like, wow, that oh wait, I was like, wow, that's cool. That's really tall. Like, there's no way I could fit that onto an album cover. That was my problem. I was like, I love this style of art. I've seen different visionary artists do this, where it's this long form totem. Like that would be cool to have in your house or something like that if you're big into art.
Hmm.
Uh, but I was like, you can't fit that on an album cover, but it's almost like three if you put them all together. So I just played with it on my phone and I edited it, and I was like, okay, this could be one album cover.
And this
This
is
could be
this is
another.
the Loom. This is the Loom video, the screen share that you conveyed the idea, how you conveyed the idea to them, right? Okay.
Yeah. So I started
Yeah,
with this as the template, as like, this is something I'm really inspired by. We don't want to copy it exactly. We want to create something like it. And we want to use the human body as the representation of the lower and higher realms of the universe.
that's awesome, dude. Okay. Yeah. No. So this is how you share the vision of the brand and delegate it to people. Because that's the thing I think we talked about in this last call, is the last thing you want to do is put the responsibility of somebody else on conceptualizing the vision of your brand and what you want to convey, right? That's not their responsibility. That's yours, right? Their responsibility is to use their unique talents and abilities in design to help bring your vision to life, right? It's not
Ab-
their responsibility to give you their vision. So I think that's a lot of, that's a common mistake, is that expectation. So yeah, this is awesome. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I did have a question.
yeah.
So how are you going to extrapolate this into merch?
That's there's so that's a good question, because there's different ways we could go about it. Obviously, the most standard way is by, like, if this is our let's say it's the underworld, or the is this first cover that we put out, and let's say we release them one album at a time, and it's like that one, and that one is like the third album that comes out, or we release it all at once and these are the three variants.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, each album cover is going to serve as one t-shirt design, one poster flag or wall flag.
Okay. All right.
um,
Yeah, that's
so
consistent with what I've seen as well. You use the album cover as a baseline to create the merch around, which is awesome because it means all you have to do is you're creating the piece of artwork one time.
yeah.
One time. Okay,
Yep.
that's awesome.
And you're using that artwork to make merch from. Another thing that I had an idea of is, once we get this finished, how can we pull it apart in ways, since I gave them this video, they're like so stoked. They're like already like coming up with ideas. They're like, I put $100 down for each of them just to get the ball rolling, because I know that money is a motivator, especially for artists. Artists don't get paid very much or often at all. So I know if you can just put money in their bank account, it's something that gets the ball rolling. And it
So
took
know you're
me a long
serious
time.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a long time to get here. So now that I'm here and I have somewhat of like an idea of the big picture, I want to get the ball rolling. And we're
Yeah.
already like, I hit a big wall from this virus thing. Hit a big like inspirational wall. And I was like, well, what am I like? What's the rush? I mean, we're supposed to have this out by this, but then everything got pushed back. So I'm like, well, now we've got extra time.
Yeah.
So
This is a perfect thing to be working on right now while you can.
yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, cool, man. I'm excited. This is awesome. Can't wait to see this come together.
Then I had like some tertiary, secondary sort of ideas that I threw in there with different pieces of art that I found. And this is like the Kabbalah tree of life, which is like another like map of the universe, an ancient map of the universe as it appears through consciousness.
Mm.
Like, so there's like lower forms of consciousness. It also correlates to the chakra system, that human energy body.
Right. Yeah.
in the colors and the way that that it starts from red. Then there's the sacral, the solar, heart chakra,
Yeah.
throat, um, third eye, and then the crown.
Yeah.
So using that as this is still part of the map. So I'm like, you can use this for inspiration. Here it is in a similar way, not as cool as the one I started with, but this is also shows where those lower worlds are, the higher worlds are.
It's just a different example of the same concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely agree that the first one that you showed was spot on.
Yeah. And then these are just other things. And then I really like this as far as the color scheme. So when it comes down to starting to add color, I was like, this is cool because it's not too bright and like almost like flamboyant for metal. It's still like it's colorful, yet it's not really um like too loud. So I was like, this would be a cool reference for color.
Yeah.
Here's another just version of the tree of life on the body.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's like the first realm that our character goes through starts out in this labyrinth. So you could I was like, maybe we can put this labyrinth at the bottom, sort of at
So
the
you
base
gave
of the drum.
specific ideas for each phase that the character was progressing through as well. So you didn't just give the big picture, you also helped get some granular inspiration going.
Yeah. And then I just showed, just some other artwork that I liked and just grabbed for the video. But yeah, that's how I made the video for them to sort of give them the big picture idea. And it's like
Awesome.
it doesn't have to be like this is just like a brain dump so you guys can just start drawing, just like do what you do best, like take the examples that I gave and start bringing it to life in a cool way. And we'll start with a basic sketch and we'll come out and we'll just make it more and more detailed as we go.
It's awesome, man. Super, super helpful. Thanks for kind of the update on, what you got going on and how the branding's coming from, concept. Because last time we talked, you didn't have a solid idea down, right?
No.
So this call was super cool because we're showing how the the concept, right, is going from up in your head, right, to being delegated and conveyed in a way that somebody else can take action on, right, to bring that vision to life. So you gave some awesome steps and tips for that. So thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that's the main thing, is just coming up with the idea. It's if it comes from you, comes from your heart, then that's great. But you're a musician, you're not the artist, right? Like that, at least that's the case for me. And I'm like, I need to hire somebody, but how do I convey it? And so just finding a way, like making a little video to send to them with some examples. That's just one good way of like, it doesn't have to be this crazy 3 album, huge detailed thing. If it's an idea, a simple idea, you could do that. But just communicating the idea is the biggest part.
Absolutely. As my dog walks off screen. All right, man. Thanks for dropping by and sharing that with me. I look forward to the next time we update and have some of these graphics created and sharing that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So next time we meet, I'll have some stuff to show.
Awesome.
Before you go, I don't know if you want to wrap it up.